Thanks for joining us for another Austin Software Cooperative Meetup. Today we're going to be talking about starting a co-op, and it's based on a document from it's a FCI guide. It's related to food co-ops, but we think has a lot of relevant information for starting co-ops in general. And this is going to be going over the pivotal steps for starting a co-op, and Josh will be leading us through that. Take it away,
Okay,
Josh.
great.
You have
thanks
the
for the
driver
intro,
on the
Taylor.
slides.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, I do, right. So, let's see. Here we go. So, okay, welcome everyone. We shared some reading material several days ago. It's a guide provided by the FCI. The FCI it stands for the Food Cooperative Initiative. They are a cooperative located in, I actually forget where they're located. They're in the U.S. They're upstate somewhere, but they have a wealth of resources for anyone with questions, like to fulfill whatever curiosity you may have about not only food co-ops and starting them, but just information for co-ops in general. They do it all for free. It's a nonprofit. They have tons of resources, and they're very good. They offer classes, workshops, grants at some points for getting started. Not only that, you can even call them. They're pretty dedicated to helping out the community. And so as far as cooperatives go, that's the spirit, investing back into the community, the cooperative community, and they're really embodying that. And so I don't know anyone personally there. I just happened to come across them on the web, and I think it was just a gem to come across. And so I saw that they had the FCI guide to starting a food co-op, and I took a look at it. It's pretty well detailed. It's about 120 pages, including the sources and appendixes, and so maybe about 100 pages, but it's a pretty nice read. If anyone hasn't had a chance to go through it, and you have an interest in figuring out how to get started with a co-op, whether it's a food co-op or not, if it's just a co-op in general, I think that you can apply the principles and values and their approach to doing this thing to pretty much almost any type of cooperative. Okay, and so that's the reading material and a little background about where I got it from. And the next thing on the agenda is review a mind map. Usually we will have a mind map when we go through these book reviews or topics. I switched it up a little bit this time with an outline. Maybe I shouldn't have did that looking at this formatting, but I think we'll be able to get through it. Starting out, just a bit about how their approach works, and then I think we can dive in. But they outline this thing and they break it down in a few steps. High level, they centered it around cooperatives and developing they centered the development process for cooperatives in 4 cornerstones within 3 stages of their development model. And so those 4 cornerstones are vision, talent, capital, and systems. From there's 3 stages of development in which each stage encompasses a vision, talent, capital, and system section. Those 3 stages of development are the organization stage, the assessing the feasibility and plan stage, and finally the implementation stage. And so just like with any business that or endeavor that someone wants to embark on, cooperatives are no different. Sorry, go ahead. Okay. So within each stage, there are oh, I'm not. Let me see. I might be having some difficulties. Can everyone see my screen okay? Or no? Is it
Oh yeah. Yeah, we see the screen. I thought you were sharing the
share.
doc. Yeah, I see the slide.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, so I guess let me the doc doesn't have too much in it. Let me link to let me show you guys my outline. So
it's still showing the slides
here.
Josh.
Yeah, I'm gonna 1 second, and boom. Can you guys see that now?
Looks
The
good.
little steps and outline.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for that. So starting with with the development process, they have 3 stages. So organization, assessing the feasibility and the plan of your initiative, as well as the implementation stage. And just like with any other business model or business that you're starting, there are a lot of steps that would be great for you to start out with, not necessarily needed, but if you go through the process, it traditionally, I mean, will lower your chances of failure. But right before we go into those stages, if anyone isn't familiar with like cooperatives in general, I took a few things from their guide just to touch on them high level. And these values and definitions that I have here are from the International Cooperative Principle, or called the International Cooperative Principles, that are from the International Cooperative Alliance. Essentially, cooperative is a business voluntarily owned and controlled by people who use it, its owners. It's operated primarily for the benefit of its owners to meet their mutual needs. And from there, we can go into a definition that is of a cooperative, which is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs, aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. And from there, we can see several values that cooperatives, all in general, for the most part, can embody. And so here at Volk, and if anyone has any comments or just want to step in or have anything to say, don't feel shy about just speaking up. I definitely like this to be a conversation, a discussion. So here at Volk, we are a software cooperative. We have 4 core partners. Myself, Taylor, Lucina, and Watson. They're all on the call right now, and we have a larger network of associates and that we work with on a daily basis, located all around the world. We've been in business for several years now, and we go through these software cooperative meetups every month to discuss different challenges throughout the growth of our cooperative, and as well as because this is a growing and living thing. We have to figure out how to work best together, how to decide decisions, how to make decisions, and in a democratic and fair way. It's a pretty fun time figuring these things out, and it can be challenging too, but challenges can be fun. And so I say all that to say with Volk is that when I read through this guide, I saw a lot of similarities between us and the approach that the FCI is taking to cooperatives. And if anyone has, finds anything interesting that we talk about or have any points about your experience, especially if you're a part of a cooperative as well, yeah, please speak up. So just diving right in with their 4 cornerstones in 3 stages of development. They were developed by consultants at the Cooperative Development Services to demonstrate critical components every startup needs to consider throughout the various stages in their development. So their 4 cornerstones are vision, talent, capital, and systems. So vision is effectively what any business needs, and leader or endeavor. You have to know, what are you trying to do? What's your idea? And not only that, you have to be able to effectively communicate your idea to all stakeholders, not only the members of the cooperative, but the stakeholders outside, your customers, the people in your community that you're going to be serving, whether that is people around a neighborhood of a food cooperative, or that's clients in a software development space, or maybe that's a bank or whatever. You have to have a vision, and it has to be effectively communicated so that everyone knows, is on the same page with what you're trying to achieve and what you stand for. Talent is effectively, it is what it sounds like. It's about not only what are you going to bring to the table, what are your strengths, what are your skills, and what are you doing to get stronger and develop those strengths. Especially with a co-op, you're going to be trusted. So for context, when we talk about some things, this is a food cooperative, right? And so this is not only you have a couple of different membership tiers, I guess I would say tiers, but there are member owners or owner members, however you would like to say it. So people who are actually involved with the growth and the development of the cooperative. And then you also have consumers. And so in this instance with the food cooperative, you can pay an initial, I believe they call it, it's like a member fee, and then you'll receive, certain benefits being a part of that network, about being a part of that cooperative. So as far as with talent, you have to have skills, you have to have strength, or at least be able to identify those. But then you also have to know where your weaknesses are. And if you're developing your first cooperative, it'd be great to get some expert assistance so that you can use these specialists to prevent you from making, costly mistakes, because cooperative is a different business model than, a traditional hierarchical style structure. And with that, you can have, it's going to be different legal advice, financial advice that you would get. But then there's a lot of crossover as well. Like, you're still going to need market analysis, strategic planning, leadership training, and store design, because just like any other business, cooperative is intended to succeed, and you're going to have to make it in the market where every business is competing just like a cooperative is. Third is capital. You have to have money. Food co-ops startups typically raise between 50 and 60% of their necessary capital from their owners through equity and loans. The rest come from fundraising, commercial lenders, and other sources. According to FCI, you'll need enough working capital to keep the business afloat until you're positive cash flow. So that's around 1 to 2 years, according to their numbers. These guys in the guide actually have a couple of case studies that are nice, pretty nice success stories where cooperatives have gotten started. And that startup time sometimes may take a couple of years going through this process, gathering support, raising money, getting a solid network together. But once these companies, these cooperatives have gotten on their feet and opened their doors, they've exceeded their expectations. And so it's pretty cool. I'd advise anyone to check them out. But the last cornerstone that these guys have is systems. Systems are very important because this is how the day-to-day operations are managed with the cooperative. They are how you decide you're going to come to decisions, how to resolve conflict when it arises, how to deal with the group, because this isn't a top-down structure where a boss tells everyone what to do. This is a democratic structure where we have to make decisions together. And as far as Volk is concerned, we have weekly governance meetings where we discuss operations with the business, we exercise our voting rights to decide direction and discuss different topics and things that have come up with the business. We use Robert's rules to discuss and talk, respect each other's time, and to actually move through meetings efficiently. We found that to be very good. We've used that for several years. But those are the type of systems that you got to put in place to make something like this work, and also like plan for the future. The 3 stages are organizing, feasibility and planning, as well as implementation. And with each stage, there is a part to discuss a vision, a talent, capital, and systems. And we're gonna step into that a bit for each stage. But before we dive in, does anyone have any comments or anything or insights from their experience?
For me, I like the principles. One of the things that stood out to me is the voluntary and open membership. Cooperatives are voluntary organizations open to all persons able to use their services and willing to accept the responsibilities of membership without gender, social, racial, political, religious discrimination. So that principle, when someone says open membership, it's almost like, wait a minute, open, like anyone can join if they, no matter what, even if you don't have the capacity to accept new people? Or is it a thing where people vote people in? That principle was one that stood out to me as, oh, okay. I was a little bit worried about it, but I think the way that they put it, it was basically you can't discriminate, and that's why it's in there. Because I think the history of these principles, that one wasn't in there like 100 years ago or something like that. So I think that's why it's in there. But I don't think all orgs can sustain everyone being a part of the org. So that's something that I think should be, I guess, thought about when you're starting a cooperative. And I know that this document is supposed to be about consumer cooperatives. At least that's what they said in the initial portion. So, and we're a worker cooperative. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I really like that aspect too, especially considering that they. I love the aspect. I mean, the cooperative should be open, and when they are, they that's how you get the best talent as well, and you're able to, grow to be the most efficient. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to add?
Hey, my name is Rick, guys.
How's it going?
All right.
Good. This is my first time here, and I'm just kind of gotten into software development the last couple of years, coming from another career. So that aspect is fairly new to me. I do run we have an old 100-year-old family property that's up in Maine that I am the president of the managing body. So I've had some experience the last 10 years just putting things together. It's essentially a not-for-profit, just trying to make enough money to keep the property maintained and going. And one of my experiences when we did start to formalize this whole process was how important it is to be organized and to document things. And to your point about making it open to everybody, I think that's a great vision. And I think it only works if kind of the expectations are clearly laid out for everybody, so everybody knows what the expectations are, and the guidelines have been well thought out so that in advance, so that it runs smoothly. And I think you know, you can be more successful that way. So yeah, I like that. I've worked on boards where Robert's rules were used, and I think it's a good way to go. It feels a little formal, but it sets the norm so people know what to expect, and it gives a process for it to go in a way that's collaborative. So that's all I got to say.
Great. Yeah, nice. Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Watson.
Oh no, this was great contribution. What all was the property for? Or are you managing?
It's a summer camp that was a great grandfather purchased about 100 years ago. It's 80 acres up on the coast of Maine, and it's you know, there's a bunch of cabins on it, and the way it was set up, it was just spread out to the families. Each generation, there's more and more members, and you know, for a couple of generations, they just kind of maintained it in a very informal way, and that got just too untenable as people moved out across the country and moved away. So we turned it into an LLC, a not-for-profit LLC, about 20 years ago. And we just finished rewriting the guidelines. It's basically for family members. It's used a lot, but just things like, you know, how do you fund the place? How you've got some people who are financially doing pretty well, and some people who aren't. So how much do you expect from people to contribute to be part of the membership?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd like to hear more about sometime more about some of the, I guess, some of the pains that you all have had to work through and how you are managing things in a democratic fashion. You said there was 100 years, but how many people are involved with it?
So at this point, there's about 30 members who are
Okay.
legally interested members from about, it's 3 generations right now.
Very interesting. Yeah. So some of these, as far as equitability and talking about fair division and fairness, some of the same concepts within cooperatives would apply to some of the things that you all have probably been dealing with. So we have other material talking about some of these things. So I'd be glad to talk to you about some of that at some other time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's pretty cool. And like you were saying, Rick, the Robert's rules does seem a bit formal, and I mean, to be honest, in practice, we may not, you know, we don't have a book in front of us going through these, you know, going through the rules directly by the book. However, we try to stick close just because otherwise we've seen meetings last way too long and become inefficient. And it disciplines us to be efficient with our meetings, make decisions, and move along in our days after we're doing it. Because before we implemented that, we'd have, you know, meetings could last several hours, and that's just not sustainable for business or people's energy, especially thinking of a weekly meeting. So, yeah, if no one else has anything else, diving in. So how this is, so every stage, and this book has like 5 chapters, I believe. This guide has about 5 chapters, and each chapters 3 through 5 essentially go through the different stages, and within each stage, they break down the core value that they've outlined. Not the core value, the cornerstone. So the vision, talent, capital, or the system. And so starting out with organizing, so the first steps when you initially have an idea, you're trying to organize a cooperative and gather support around it. Well, that's where that falls under the vision cornerstone. So at first, you have an idea that's great. Well, get a few people together maybe who may share your same excitement for this, and talk to them about it, get feedback, and make some maybe outline some tasks that will help you, like the research and development process with your idea. Is so useful to not just think and talk to yourself all day about something that you think's great without talking. And it's so useful to not talk to yourself and actually get out there and get feedback from other humans. But after you do get that small, get some type of support with some people you can bounce ideas off of, and split up tasks to actually see if this is a thing. It's time for going out in your community and having one-on-one conversations with people about your idea, your vision. What do you envision? What are you trying to do? See if see what the community that you're trying to serve, see what their interests are, see how you can help them, see if what you're thinking is actually on point, and get that feedback. And that's more than likely going to help steer the direction of where you're trying to go and build this. And you're not just building it for yourself. You're not just building it for the 2 or 3 people who you've brought into your small group, but you're building it for a larger community where you can actually make an impact. It's important to know what that community wants. And when you're going out and you're initially talking with people, you should be looking to identify potential owners and advocates for your vision, for your cooperative. Some great people, some great potential owners or advocates can be community leaders, people who are already in positions of authority and trust, and they can help provide credibility, guidance, and insight to support your endeavor. They're great, and they'll also help to once these local community leaders or local influencers in the space are behind you, that would also help to bring in membership as well. But along with that, there's several things you want to measure the level of interest. Different ways that you can do this is conduct surveys and just see what type of feedback you get. But also with that, it's nice to do a feasibility study. Do you want to build a rocket ship to the moon, or by yourself, or maybe you like to build an airplane first? Is it feasible at the start? And you won't know that until you go and do a study, actually figure that out. And so some ideas they have is finding out if your vision resonates with the community. Do you have the people around you with the time and skills and talent to help you with this? Can you raise enough capital from your members and people around you? Do you have suitable locations for this case, they're talking about retail grocery stores for the food co-op. So is there anywhere in the community that this grocery store could be? You know, these are a part of the vision process, and it also goes down to building a support network where you can effectively, as far as the business side goes, you know, research different cooperative development support options, introduce yourself to different lending funds. All of these are great things that could help you with the vision. Talent in the initial stage, you want to actually, these are key areas where you can convene a core group, develop leadership and identify resources around you. Convene a steering committee. That's those are people that will be, you know, help you with administrative support, possibly even get a web designer. Having a web presence is extremely important. Local promoters, local producers, volunteers and promoters, and also fiscal sponsors. With Volk, as far as the steering committee, I guess that would be probably the core partners, but in which we talk weekly about governance as far as things that concern the direction of the business. But we have worked with sponsors before. We've been on the other side and tried to sponsor different causes and things in the community before. We've had business development partners and relationships. These are things that are key really to any business. But when you're democratically deciding these things, there are conversations that that definitely need to be had and worked out. And then there's capital. In the initial stage, how are you going to gain capital for this cooperative that you're building? A lot of they have a lot of suggestions here. Of course, you're going to need a budget. Actually outline what are you going to need money for. You can raise money, commit resources for organizational costs. You can apply for grants, develop a member capitalization plan, and figure out how to calculate the owner equity requirement. All of these things are pretty liquid. You know, there are fluid options. There's not one way to do this, and but it is a necessary step to figure out. Even if that's sweat equity, you know, you have to see that would be a thing where it's, you know, do your members and are they going to have time? Maybe it's just a few people. How are you going to gather that capital? And the systems as well. Like we mentioned before with Robert's rules, they have board meetings here. We have weekly governance meetings. We have reached out for administrative support to help us with things. Of course, we're organizing banks, a bank and things like that, but these are just basic things that need to be done in the beginning. And then from there, we can go into actually, once we're able to do those initial steps, we can hop into developing the co-op. Does anyone have any comments before we hop into that? About these four cornerstones in the first stage of organization?
Yeah. A lot of this is tuned towards I guess I was talking with someone before about so we're the Meetup group is a software cooperative, and this one is talking about food co-ops. So we're talking about products and a different style of cooperative, and this one is a consumer cooperative. But obviously, there's a lot that is shared. And then someone just asked a question. Maybe we'll go to that in a second. One of the things is that I wanted to point out was if you read, let's say, David Meister's book on professional services, really when you have an organization that does anything with services, you have really three types, and you can't really get away from making a decision on the type of people you have and the type of work you go after. And there's really three basic types. One of them is procedural. One of them you can call, say, gray hair, and the other one you can call, say, brains or research style. And based on the makeup of people, that's the type of work you can go after. And based off the type of work you go after, that's the kind of people you need to get. So it's your chicken and egg brought right into the org. With when you're talking about talent and bringing in people, all that type, your boundaries are set based off of the kinds of people you have and the type of work you go after, and you only have so much wiggle room. When it's and I'm beginning to see when you're the type of cooperative that you set up based off of your business, this would be more of a procedural type, where you're having people that are doing, although some of this work is creative, they're going to be more on the procedural type work. And the other kind, and then so your marketing and all that's going to be driven off of that. Whereas if you're going off of a different type of services, for instance, let's say if you were Morgan Stanley or something like that, the type of customers you're going after, they kind of want to know, they trust that person who's done it before, and they want to know that name, and they identify with that. And so they want to, that's who they buy from, that kind of thing. So some of that you have to keep in mind when you're developing your cooperatives. And we're kind of on the software side, you're going to be more services, and you're going to be more, you could be procedural, but most likely you're going to be more of that, the gray hair type or the research type, and that's going to drive you more. So I think that's it. That's all I wanted to say. And let's see what that question was. I think it's, we're starting a cooperative. How did you find your core partners? That's a good question. Whoever wants to answer.
I remember talking about that quite a while ago. Those three types of classifications of talent in a company, and no, it's absolutely right, and that's also I think you find that out when you're going, and once you develop a vision and are you able to get a small group of talent that can support your business, your vision, your cooperative. Does your community, do you have access to a community for that? And so yeah, it's very important. I like that. So diving into the second stage, we're at like 7:45.
Josh,
so
do you mind if I
go ahead to that question?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Directly, one of us. It sounds like you were asking more specific to vote co-op versus a general. So I think both Watson and Josh are covering the general idea of how you're going to be finding people that could potentially become partners and the different aspects of that. For us, it happened very organically. So it was, we had, several of us had, I guess, experience networking with other people and building, I guess, large network of folks in the software industry. And I happened to be running I guess it was like just a loose net software agency with people, but it wasn't a cooperative. And Watson's experience in some ways was similar as far as like building up the network and working with a lot of groups. And we happened to come across each other with a company that we were both doing some consulting with, and started talking about the philosophy aspects of autonomous, being able to come together with autonomy and choosing to work together. And there's a lot of that coincides with open source and other things, but basically giving, trying to seek for everyone to have autonomy and then have decisions to move forward, and then sharing the load. And what I had done in the past was very loose, and as far as management and the network, it sometimes was pretty large group of people working on projects, but oftentimes the items that you would think of as overhead or annoying or whatever else, or maybe even just directly customer facing stuff, ends up rolling up to just one or two people. So how do we spread that out and actually have it as part of it, was part of the conversations. And then beyond that, it was reaching out to the network of people that we knew that had, I guess, fit on the talent side, more of what Watson was saying, and just seeing the interest, like talking about some of the ideas and seeing where people's, if maybe their values fit or if it sounded interesting, and then just try to give it a try from there. I think maybe one of the biggest things that we found is it's easier for people to try the idea of a cooperative if they've at least done some freelancing. If the way that your cooperative is structured is already set up to be that type of distributed work and distributed decision making. But that was something that we kind of learned as we were going. You give people the opportunity, and some people say, I need more structure. And some people say, I like this. And then the freelancers and consultants seem to jump right in, more likely to do that. Unless you're a lone wolf and you want to do it yourself. But that's kind of how we found ours as far as starting. And maybe the missions and values and aligning that and trying to make sure those are visible is a bigger long-term goal for new core partners. There's another question here. Do you want me to answer that, Josh, or you want to get it? Or it's from Rick. Do you find you're collaborating on projects frequency? Are you referring to the current cooperative work or the past? What do you? Can you elaborate on that? Okay. Well, as far as the core group partners, we all collaborate on all the work pretty frequently. There is some projects where it may be, Josh, can you check out these agreements and go through, and maybe someone else ends up stepping in to head a smaller project or something. But the larger ones were often splitting up a lot of the work, and then the associates that Josh mentioned that may move up into partners, hopefully, the ones that are interested, they're kind of spread across, and that's a mix between interest and then just availability of the type of work. But we try to make the opportunity for people to work across different things and encourage it. I guess one of the things on the talent that I didn't see in here, but I know Watson's big on this, and we try to have it across as mentoring. So if you're not used to, if you're wanting to learn like new skills and stuff, then we're big on that and do a lot of stuff like pairing and everything. So that side, but we are also trying to encourage and mentor on some of the other cooperative or running your business aspects, which might not be as exciting as and fun as maybe some of the development parts, but they're important if you want to run your own thing or be part of the cooperative at an owner level. Oh yeah, and if in case anyone didn't see it, Luciana posted that we will, in November, we're going to be celebrating our 7th year. So we may be doing a virtual happy hour or something. Last year, pre-COVID, we had an in-person, but maybe we'll do a remote happy hour in November.
Okay.
I think you, what was the next step after this time-wise? Okay, we got some time. You were, does anyone have any other questions on those items, or do you want to move on to the next? I think it was the developing. You just finished the developing, the co-op.
Yeah, we are sort of coming up on time here in a bit, but to go into this a little bit more, just a bit. So there are 2 more stages. It's the development stage and it's the implementation stage. And in both stages, you're still going to have the 4 cornerstones of talent, capital, vision, and I'm missing one. Talent, capital, vision, and systems. And with each stage, as you grow the business, you're gonna have to take that a bit further for your to progress the business. And so in the middle stage, developing the co-op, that's when you assess the feasibility and the plan. And so as far as feasibility, they've broken that up into 2 parts. The first being, one second, I'll grab that. It's feasibility of vision, and then it will be feasibility of planning. And so as far as talent goes, Watson, like you were alluding to, first, can you find that talent to help you when you are sharing your vision, but also when you're trying to develop, you're going to need to hire a project manager to help you plan out. See do you have the organizational capacity to implement your vision, and you're going to have to gear up and get ready for implementation. You want to start talking through different, and these are all high level. Of course, I mean the guide goes into detail, into very nice detail on all of these points. But as far as capital, you can start exploring member loan plans. The people who want to get started with the initial core members and raising money potentially. You can go through those options. You can talk about preferred shares of stock or loan capital from financial institutions. As far as systems are concerned, you have that governance, develop governance leadership. Several different types of forms of cooperatives. You can have member-led, or you can also have a board where it's not member-led, it's just member-owned. And so those things are worked out in the systems of how you want to run, or how you want to run this venture. From there, it would be great to contract for a professional market study to see how well you can do in the market. Gather your business plan together, and gather a business plan together. The second, and then from there, we're just going to dive into the implementation stage. That would be the final stage of starting the cooperative. And again, we're going to go through those 4 cornerstones with vision. Then now let's talk about brand development and developing a communication strategy so that your vision is not only now for a small group or those one-to-one interactions that you had, but for a scale where you can actually offer these services or your product, your cooperative product, to a greater community. Maybe that's, now that's citywide, district-wide, statewide, nationally. How are you gonna, whatever your product is, you're gonna have to brand. You have to do some brand development, figure out how you're gonna communicate and get that word out. As far as talent to help you do that, a general manager or a site project manager for the sake of this grocery store would be pivotal to success, as well as a board of directors, and how that will work, especially if you're not member led and you have a board. That's going to be if you have a board to decide the direction, that's going to be a very important point. Actually secure the capital from external capital commitments if that's necessary, and you can also continue with any like member equity drives or member loans that you may have previously started. As far as systems in the implementation stage, gonna have to have an operating plan, administration roles, financial reporting, management, inventory. It's just gonna depend on the type of business that you're starting. But this is the point where you're getting ready to open for business and you need all of the starters in line and ready to go. And so I mean, we're coming up on time here, but this is I wanted to go a bit deeper, but I think we're just about coming up on time. But I would advise if anyone wants more information to check out fci.coop. It's great. This guide is also great. They have tons of links and resources, and I found it very, very insightful. And yep, that's all I've got for today. But does anyone else have any additional questions or comments that they'd like to explore before we get out of here? It's okay if we go over a bit, but I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. Let's see. Like those. Okay, we've added these links, these references to the doc that I shared with everyone. And if nothing else, I guess we've done it today. Thanks for joining us. We had a lot of people join today. Thanks for all the visitors. Hope you enjoyed it. And so next week we're still our next meetup is October 7th. Same time, same place, 7 to 8 Central. We're still deciding what the discussion topic will be. If anyone, whether that's a first-time attendee or any of our regulars would like to have a suggestion, we're all ears. Or if you're interested in maybe leading a discussion about a cooperative topic, you're more than welcome to bring that up. We'd be happy to have you.
I dropped a link to the GitHub page for the meetup. You can add, if you have topic ideas, create a new issue. Or if you have them right now, feel free to suggest. Thanks, Josh. We'll see y'all next month.
Thank you, guys. See you guys.